Johnny had always been fascinated by creepy stories and often spent late nights reading them on Reddit. He was particularly drawn to stories about clowns, and the more terrifying the story, the more he enjoyed it. However, one night, he found himself living a creepypasta story of his own. Johnny was staying with his grandmother in an old cabin by the woods. The cabin was isolated and eerie, and Johnny often found himself reading creepy stories late into the night to pass the time. However, one night, as he was reading a particularly chilling story, he heard a knock on the door. He opened the door to find a clown standing on the doorstep. The clown had a big, shiny red nose and yellow eyes, which were all Johnny could see when he appeared. The clown introduced himself as Mr. Tickles, and Johnny felt a sense of unease wash over him. Over the next few nights, Johnny noticed strange things happening around the cabin. He would hear footsteps in the woods, strange noises in the middle of the night, and the sound of laughter coming from the darkness. He tried to ignore it and continued to read his creepy stories, but the unease only grew stronger. One day, as Johnny was walking in the woods, he saw a bunch of balloons tied to a tree. The balloons were red and yellow, just like Mr. Tickle's nose and eyes. Johnny felt a chill run down his spine and realized that the clown was watching him. As the days went by, Johnny's encounters with Mr. Tickles became more frequent. He would see him standing on the edge of the woods, watching him with his eerie yellow eyes. Sometimes he would hear the sound of clown music playing from the darkness, and he knew that Mr. Tickles was near. Finally, one night, Johnny decided to confront Mr. Tickles. He armed himself with a flashlight and set out into the woods. As he walked, he could hear the sound of footsteps behind him, but when he turned around, no one was there. Suddenly, Johnny saw Mr. Tickles emerge from the shadows. He was holding a bunch of balloons in one hand and a rusty knife in the other. Johnny felt a sense of terror wash over him as he realized that he was face to face with the demonic clown. As they faced off in the darkness, Johnny tried to keep his cool. He shined his flashlight at Mr. Tickles, but he was too fast. He moved with an otherworldly grace, his movements fluid and inhuman. Johnny knew that he had to act fast. He lunged at Mr. Tickles with his flashlight, hoping to knock him off balance. But Mr. Tickles was too quick. He dodged Johnny's attack and swung his knife, narrowly missing Johnny's head. The two continued to fight in the darkness, but Johnny could see that Mr. Tickles was getting stronger. He seemed to feed on Johnny's fear, and the more terrified Johnny became, the more powerful Mr. Tickles grew. Finally, Johnny had had enough. He realized that the only way to defeat Mr. Tickles was to face his fear head-on. He mustered all his courage and lunged at Mr. Tickles with his flashlight. To his surprise, Mr. Tickles disappeared into thin air. Johnny was left alone in the darkness, holding his flashlight and feeling a sense of relief wash over him. From that day on, Johnny knew that he could never forget the creepypasta story that had become his reality. The memory of Mr. Tickles haunted him, and he knew that he would never be the same again.